All right, the new inflation numbers just dropped, and whoa, they're definitely not what anyone was predicting. We're talking about the big January report, and honestly, it's a bit of a page turner. So let's dive right in. So, the official data says inflation is cooling off. But I don't know about you, but when I look at my grocery bill, I'm kind of thinking, really? That's the huge disconnect we're going to unpack today. That gap between the big headlines and the story your wallet is actually telling you.
And here it is, the headline number, 2.4%. Now, to you and me, that might just seem like, a number. But trust me, in the world of economics, seeing a lower than expected inflation rate, that is a huge deal. It's a pretty clear signal that the crazy price hikes we've all been dealing with might finally be running out of steam.
And you can bet economists are taking notice. Bernard Yaros over at Oxford Economics called it a welcome surprise. And let's be real, after the last few years of economic craziness, any good news feels like a very big deal. So, what's the secret sauce here? What's actually causing the slowdown? Let's pop the hood and see what's driving these prices down for a change. Okay, take a look at this. This table really tells the story. You can see a super clear downward trend just from December to January. And it's not just the annual rate, which dropped from 2.7 to 2.4%. Look at the monthly price rise, too. This isn't just a fluke. We're starting to see a real pattern emerge. And this is why the slowdown is coming from three of the biggest chunks of your budget. I mean, look at energy. The overall index actually went down. And for housing and groceries, the rate of the price hikes is slowing down. These are the things that hit our wallets the absolute hardest. Okay, but before we all start celebrating, there is a catch, and it's a big one. See, cooling inflation doesn't mean prices are actually dropping. Nope. It just means they're not climbing quite as fast. And that brings us to the affordability squeeze, the real reason so many of us are still feeling that pinch. But let's start with a bit more good news, because there is some. If you've filled up your car lately, you've probably noticed this yourself. Gas prices are down a massive 7.5% compared to this time last year. I mean, that's real money back in your pocket, week after week. But here's where the plot thickens. While you're saving some cash at the pump, your utility bills are telling a completely different story. Just look at this. Electricity prices are up 6.3%, and natural gas has shot up by a whopping 9.8%. So yeah, what you save on your commute, you might just be losing when you heat and light your home. It's like a classic case of one step forward, two steps back. And that brings us to what is, for most of us, the biggest bill of all, housing. So the official report says shelter price increases have moderated. But this poll from the New York Times, well, it shows what moderated actually feels like for real people. A staggering 54% of us, that's a clear majority, find housing completely unaffordable. This, right here, is the heart of the affordability crisis. All right, so really get what's going on, we need to look beyond those headline numbers. Economists have this special tool they use, and it's called core inflation. It's a really key concept if you want to understand the bigger economic picture. So what exactly is core inflation? Well, think of it like a weather report. The headline inflation number, that's like the feels like temperature, right? It can get thrown off by stuff like wind or humidity. Core inflation, on the other hand, is the actual air temperature. It strips out the super volatile prices of food and energy, because those can swing wildly from things like a hurricane or, some big global event. By looking at core inflation, economists get a much clearer picture of the underlying economic climate. And the core inflation number for the year, it comes in at 2.5%. See how that's just a little bit higher than the headline number? That tells us that even when you take out those crazy food and energy prices, there's still some persistent inflationary pressure just kind of humming along in the background of the economy. So what does all of this mean for the folks who basically control the money supply? Right now, all eyes are on the central bank, and everyone is asking the same question. What is their next move? Well, the experts are all pretty much saying the same thing. Don't hold your breath for any big, sudden changes. The central bank is playing it cool. One good inflation report, that's a great start for sure, but they're going to need to see a consistent downward trend before they even think about declaring mission accomplished. So, why the wait? Well, economists figure the central bank is going to hold off until at least June. And here's why. First, they're still trying to sort through some kind of funky data from the recent government shutdown. Second, they see the economy on pretty solid ground for the rest of the year. And third, the job market is looking pretty stable. Bottom line, they're in absolutely no rush to make any sudden moves.
And so, here we are, right back where we started. The headlines look good, but our wallets are still feeling the pain. The real question is, how long can this disconnect last? I mean, what's it going to take for the good news on paper to actually translate into real relief for all of us? That, my friends, is the billion-dollar question.